Thank you. Before we start, can you have Safety Officer of Taj Bengal to give a brief on the safety, please? Mr. Akash.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Taj Bengal. I'm Akash. I'll brief you on the safety and evacuation routes in this particular venue, Crystal Hall. There are 4 fire exits in this particular hall, 2 on my left and 2 on my right. All fire exits are safety evacuation routes which leads you to the safe area at the banquet porch. At the entrance, we have a demarcated assembly point for all to gather in case of an emergency evacuation. Our staff is trained in first aid and would assist you in case of an emergency. This area is protected by both fire protection and detection system. This area is under CCTV surveillance. Please carry your valuables while leaving the hall. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Akash. Again, good morning and welcome to the City of Joy and to this, 5th Ferroalloy seminar, and which is 19th in the series of Steel Tech, and with a huge and very good feedback on these previous seminars, we thought of organizing this, and we are very happy we are here. There are many people this time that attended. We are happy that NMDC also from Iron side they have joined, and there are many Ferroalloys industry people have joined, so also Tata Steel, SAIL and others. And this is a huge response because, the dignitaries, we get it from our technocrats, we get it from their government officials, we get it from like Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya, Mr. Sundar Ramam, and also Mr. Abhinav Chandra. And this is successful because of guidance of the chairman, Mr. Sundar Ramam, and also the efforts by our conveners, Mr. J.K. Chatterjee, Shishandu, and the entire team. And thank you all for joining this thing, and we give a big round of applause for everybody. Thank you. I'll be very brief this time. You must have seen the program, and we start generally at 10. It is almost becoming at 10. We thought of 9:30 because there is a function thereafter, and there are so many good papers there. So I'll be the briefest. I kept my time as 5 minutes. I'll take even less than 5 minutes. We know that what is the situation in the world. We know what is the steel side as well as the industry, the ferroalloys industry. Unless others we are not sustainable, we cannot survive. That is the in thing. And we are also trying in any seminar, particularly keep this theme in our mind. So this also it is there, and you must have seen very eminent personalities are here who will speak about this. And there are many technical papers thereafter. It is given on automation also. Many good speakers, we have given a specific timeline. There are people from overseas also that will be presenting. To give justice to all the papers, I request that please finish it within time, and also that we can listen to everybody. If you have any questions or something, then we can have it during lunch or this thing. With this brief, again, thank you very much for your presence and making this one is successful. I'll just, with this, I'll request Mr. Sundar Raman, our chairman and of core committee. He is the VP Raw Material of Tata Steel, to also speak a few words, address the gathering. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Mr. Abhinav Chandra, IAS, Department of Environment, Government of West Bengal. Dr. D. Bhattacharya, always used to call him Dr. DB only. So, Mr. Sarkar, Mr. Sen, Shishendu, Mr. Sudhanshu Patak, who is seen as the steel man of Tata Steel. At least the day I have known him from 1999 till his retirement, I have seen him working in steel manufacturing. So he's the last word as far as steel is concerned in Tata Steel. And all the dignitaries who are present here, and dear people. In fact, I don't know whether it is coincidental or it is by plan by Mr. Sen, calling a mining engineer to talk about sustainability and environment. So I think he says when you talk about that, you should be sure that you should also implement those things which you are talking about. So I think I feel privileged to be part of Steel Tech. So though I attended earlier editions, but unfortunately, last edition I could not be present because of my other engagements, and I'm very happy and privileged to be here. So as all of you are aware, the global markets and the mining industry particularly is undergoing a profound transformation, and it's driven by rapid globalization, decarbonization imperatives, and also accelerated technological advancements. So as steel remains the backbone of industrial growth and infrastructure expansion, the sector must embrace innovation and sustainability to remain competitive in this dynamic landscape. So I would like to share my first experience when I was presenting a paper representing mining at Balipada. Balipada is, I think, around 200 kilometers from Assam. And incidentally, two of us, one from Coal India, Northern Coalfields, and I was there as corporate representatives. Rest everyone were presenting as NGOs. And they had projected us as white-collared dacoits, looting the wealth, degrading the environment. And incidentally, not because of Sundar, because of Tata Steel. So whatever initiatives we had taken or we have been taking at Tata Steel, when I presented that, I think may not be 100%, but at least 50 to 60% success I could get. But when we told that whatever we are enjoying, the facilities which are enjoying here, all these because of the basic industry mining as well as steel. So having said that, we cannot say that you shut down the mines and shut down the steel plants because you are causing pollution to environment or imbalancing the environment around. But as a responsible miner, steel player or ferroalloy player, we always believe that mining is necessary. At the same time, how could we do it responsibly, and how do we mitigate the adverse effect of mining and steel making which is on the environment. So if I talk about the global landscape, last year we almost 1.8 billion tons of steel has been produced. Out of that, more than 50% from China. And steel demand is projected to grow at almost 2.9% CAGR globally till 2030, with a hope that some substitute would come for steel, and steel production might go down. But yes, as far as India is concerned, I don't think those things are happening. But the projection which even international even steel associations and all which they are giving is maybe today we are at almost 70% blast furnace technology we are using, and 30% we are on DRI and arc furnaces and all. How do we, maybe by 2035 it could reverse. We may be around 30 to 40% blast furnace which use directly iron and coal, and 50 to 60% could be electric arc furnace or DRI pellets to say. Iron ore prices also, if you see around 3 to 4 years, immediately after COVID, the prices have gone up to as high as $180. Now they are hovering around $100, 90 to 95 to $100. Similarly, the coking coal prices also shot up. At one point in time, the coking coal prices were competing with the HR coil prices, but again they have come down and almost they are hovering around $200 to $220. So all these, the upheaval and then downfall and all these are also because of the geopolitical tensions which are there in the world. And as all of us are aware that there is no boundary now, and it's a boundaryless world. So anywhere happening anything, even Trump coughing intensely is going to affect the stock prices of now India. So that's how we are interconnected. So decarbonization imperatives are sharpening the industry's focus, and also the emission intensity and reduction targets, that is mandatory, because even if you see World Steel Organization, they also talking about the reduction in carbon emissions. Overall, if you talk about the entire steel industry, we are almost at 2.6 tons of carbon emission per ton of crude steel. And even if I talk about Tata Steel is also, at least Indian operations are hovering around 2.4 to 2.45, whereas our European operations in particularly Netherlands is a benchmark where it is less than 2. And even in, if we talk about the Port Albert, our UK operations, government, along with the government of UK, Tata Steel had taken a bold decision to stop both the blast furnaces and convert into electric arc furnace. Maybe the earlier levels of more than 2 or 1.8, it would come down to as low as 0.4 tons of carbon emission per ton of crude steel. So these drastic greener initiatives are being taken by corporates, and as all of us are aware that each of the company, steel company, they have committed for net neutral, net carbon, and almost varying from 2050. Government of India has announced 2070, and Tata Group has announced to 2045. So that has become a bigger, I think, initiative for Tata Steel, because given Tata Steel's footprint today, it is going to be a Herculean task to be zero carbon by 2045, but all our efforts are there in that direction. So when we talk about steel, at least for Tata Steel being an integrated steel player, we have got our mines also associated with that. When I'm talking about mines, let me give a data point. Navamundi iron mine of Tata Steel is celebrating its 100th year of existence in India. So it is one of the oldest running mines in India, to say. And I always, whenever I have an opportunity to discuss with stakeholders, I always invite them to visit Navamundi. When I'm speaking this, 12 of our journalists from Jamshedpur, we have arranged them to go and see Navamundi, because I always say Navamundi mine is a textbook mine. You have got forest that has been replanted by our predecessors in late, maybe in 1950s, 60s, which have got not only the primary, secondary, even the tertiary generation of forest. We have got water harvesting structures, and our aim is to how can we become water positive, and we were the first mine to have a 3 megawatt solar power plant way back in 2011-12. So with these initiatives, when someone comes from outside, at least we would be able to, we may not 100% take out his impression, but definitely I tell in Navamundi, when you enter Navamundi, unless I take you to the mine, you won't be able to find that the mining operation is going on. Whereas that mine currently, along with Katamati, it's currently producing more than 20 million tons. So these are some of the initiatives. When I talk about Tata Steel, it is not that one company. When we have these discussions with the Steel Authority of India Limited, NMDC, OMC, we see that many of these corporates, whether they are public sector units or private sector units, to talk about JSW is in a big way in mining. Everywhere people are conscious about the environment impact, and people are putting their best efforts to have how do we balance and how do we mitigate the environment impact which we are having. So India, coming to India, India produced almost 148 million tons of steel in last financial year, and even our iron ore production has touched 280 million tons. So whatever is the plan for 2030, though under Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India, we targeted 300 million tons, but I see we may be hovering around 200 to 220 million tons, the way all the steel players have their plans, and if the plans get successful and fruitful, then maybe we'll be touching between 200 to 220 million tons. So I think earlier there has been some maybe confusion or that whether we do be reaching 200 or not, because the way the prices are there, and India is struggling with the imports which are coming from China and all, and to start with 12% safeguard duty and all on imports and all, maybe again steel industry in India is looking up, and maybe most of the investments are whatever have been committed, they are going to touch the ground. So when I talked about iron ore production, 280 million tons, let me also talk about Tata Steel iron ore mines touched first time 40 million tons, and we are the second biggest iron ore producer in India after NMDC. NMDC produced 44.5 million tons, 45 million tons in this financial year FY25. So all these, when I talk about the production, definitely all this production is happening with along with greener initiatives, sustainable initiatives. That's why I always say that if a mine has run for 100 years, that couldn't have been possible without the social license being given by the stakeholders, the local stakeholders. One more feather in the cap of Navamundi, we are the first mine in the world to have all shift women mining shift and wherein the women are operating and also the transgenders are operating 110 dump trucks, huge excavators, dozers, all HMM. And also we had tough time getting the supervisory staff, women supervisory staff, because it's very difficult to get foremen and mining mate who are called the supervisors. But incidentally, after seeing the success of this, some of them applied and we got them. So obviously we have mining engineers, but at the same time we have got supervisory staff also. And thanks to our partners, maintenance partners, we have the maintenance engineers also women engineers. So it has become 100% a women mining ship, first of its kind to best of our knowledge in the world. So when I talk about ferroalloy industry, definitely the global ferroalloy industry is touching 166 million tons and valued at $56.7 billion, and it's a projected growth of 5.9% CAGR till 2033, driven by stainless steel demand, infrastructure build out and energy transition. The predominance of ferroalloy industry, we can say it's in Asia Pacific region, where it is accounting for more than 50% of the global output. And technological advancements in smelting efficiency, low carbon ferroalloy production, and AI enabled beneficiation are reshaping industry dynamics. So when I talk about AI, maybe the machine learning and all, I would just like to give examples that how it has the mining industry and the steel industry has transformed into what it was some time back. We have got central operational cum supervisory centers at Jamshedpur. Sitting in Jamshedpur, all our raw material locations, whether they are mines, plants, ferroalloy plants, are being monitored 24/7 by the youngsters who have got 2 to 3 years of experience in the field, and we get automated data from them, whether it is the machine data or it is the safety data, and is there any deviation, anything and everything it can be online, and based on that we can also take decisions instantaneously. The same thing is happening for all the blast furnaces across all our plants, whether it is Miramandli, Kalinganagar, Jamshedpur and Gamaria. All this is being monitored from a central maintenance center from Jamshedpur. Similarly, all other plants like pellet plant, sinter plant, everything is monitored from both operations and maintenance point of view. And it's not that only monitoring, they look at the what is the trend. And based on the trend, the solutions are being generated. Just to give an example of the AI or machine learning, it gives me every week, it sends a message to me saying that in your 21 locations of raw material operations, these are the areas which have been not touched or not been visited by your officer as far as safety is concerned, which they write it as blind spots. These are the areas which have not been done in last 1 week. Immediately I get an alert and I can tell people that these are the areas we are not touched from safety point of view. How do we do that? So same thing is being now extended to environment and also health of our employees. And also as far as safety is concerned, last time also mentioned, we have a card called Suraksha card. Because in Tata Steel, almost 100,000, more than 100,000, 120,000 contract employees, they enter into all our premises and they have a Suraksha card. Through Suraksha card, we know exactly very easy, because we can monitor once he enters the gate. After he enters the gate, he is working in blast furnace, whether he is going to blast furnace or he is going to steel melting shop, we do not know. With the Suraksha card, we know exactly what is his role and whether he is there or not. If he is not there, he has gone to some other place, immediately you get an alert saying that so-and-so person is not his area of work. So then you can immediately find it, because such incidents had happened in the past. We were wondering why this person was at coal rolling mill, whereas his job was at blast furnace. So these things we could, to large extent, we could avoid as far as safety is concerned using AI. So coming to the sustainable initiatives, let me tell you, the ferroalloys have started now and we are expecting the renewable energy to all our plants. By October, November 2025, we have an agreement with Tata Power. So with that, maybe 60 to 70%, may not be 100% because of the fluctuations, seasonal fluctuations, could be through renewable energy. And recently we have also furnace oil has been replaced by piped natural gas, PNG, first of its kind in ferroalloy industry in India. Similarly, entire shipping, whatever we are doing from east to west, we are using coastal shipping. And all our trucks which we are using, predominantly they are either biochar or they are CNG based trucks. Because of these smaller initiatives, we could see that in last 4 to 5 months in last financial year, we could save almost 230 tons of carbon emission. So this is a pilot scale we have started because we have got almost 6 ferroalloy plants, including manganese and chrome. Our endeavor is to extend to all these places, and also all these places are under online monitoring of water consumption, and we are seeing how can we reduce the water consumption year after year, so that these are some of the things which is we can say prick point for the stakeholders. If you use more water, then the local communities get affected. So how can I reduce, not only reduce the water, how can we become water positive? That has been our endeavor. So to conclude, in essence, the future of the metals and mining industry definitely hinges on the symbiotic relationship between technological innovation and sustainability. By strategically leveraging cutting-edge solutions, the sector can not only navigate the evolving global landscape, but also actively contribute to a greener, more efficient, and ultimately more resilient world. The future of this industry lies at the convergence of the sustainable growth, technological leadership, and industry-wide collaboration. I am hopeful that maybe when 2030 or 2028, when I again visit Balipada, then I would be able to make a much inclusive presentation to them with all these sustainable initiatives. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. I look forward to the best of the presentations going forward. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sundaramam, for your insights and thoughts. And one more thing, Trend, you said you just finished on time, even maybe 1 minute before. So that is the one probably everybody will follow. And when you mentioned about why mining engineer in this sustainability, we cannot forget our ancestors. We cannot forget our parents. We start with you only. Thank you very much for your insight. Now it's a pleasure to invite our most coveted Abhinav Chandra, IAS. I'll just give a very brief of him, although it can go in pages. He is in service for 28 years in government and corporate sector. He has expertise in socio-digital infrastructure, automation, and government process re-engineering. He is an engineer, he is a researcher, he is a scientist, and he is an MBA. He worked in United Nations, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and Japanese Foundation for Poverty Reduction supported by projects. He brought in schemes that launched rental cabs in West Bengal, country's first social security scheme for unorganized workers. He has amended 22 acts and 116 rules of ease doing business in Bengal. Was a part of the team that launched digital infrastructure projects under the National E-Governance Plan. He was a part of the core team and brought the agri reforms and also the now done 3 Farms Acts. I managed the entire COVID by expanding Sufol Bangla to ensure essential supplies in West Bengal. He is a national level rower, he is a state level cricket player, and he is a Devon level boxer. So please, and he is the son of an IPS officer also with a part of this thing. Currently, he is the Secretary Department of Environmental Government of West Bengal and Director of Institute of Environmental Studies and Wetland Management, Kolkata. Thank you. I give a big round of applause for him, please.
Very good morning to all. A big thank you to Mr. Sen. I'm not worthy of all these words, but definitely I'll do justice because wherever I go, I do believe in learning. Very stoic, kind of presence here with people who have technical excellence. I kind of look at myself as fish out of water because I am the only generalist amongst all of you who have, got technical expertise. I'll try and finish on time. I may not be so disciplined as my previous speaker, but yes, I will do my best. A very good morning, Sundar Ramamji, Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya ji, Mr. Sarkar, Mr. Sen, Shri Sindhu, Mukherjee, Arnab Banerjee, the entire team out here of Steel Tech, the technical experts and the presenters of the papers who are here. You guys have more knowledge than what we even aspire to get. So today's interaction will be where we learn from you and also put that into perspective. Let me begin by giving you certain, as they say, let's scare you a little bit and thereafter, drive you to a positive kind of outlook. I begin my discourse or my speech by saying and quoting a book which is written by Marcus Aurelius. It's a meditation, which says that civilizations are built on grit, perseverance, discipline, and steel. The tenacity of the industry has been very different because steel and metal industry in this part of the world has, through our ancient times also, evolved. So it was very unorganized. It then became organized, then again became unorganized under the colonial powers, and so on and so forth. So it's seen a sinusoidal kind of a trajectory from 2,300 years back when metallurgy was introduced in this part of the world, and thereafter. I may be wrong on the dates. I'm quoting NCERT, Harappan civilization times. Anyway, so steel definitely requires, and I want to put this into perspective, raw material, energy, labor, transport, credit lines, and of course technology. I can broadly put raw materials in environment bucket, where Sundar Ramamji also said there's a lot of initiatives that we can do looking at sustainability as one of our outlooks. Energy, then again, you're looking at renewables. They are aiming at becoming net zero by 2045. Government of India has embarked on doing it by 2047. We are committed towards it. And of course, the transport. The transport, again, now you are going towards using CBG, going towards using biochars, so on and so forth, which again brings you to the question that it has to be sustainable. The labor issues, which technically will also be the organized, unorganized, and so on and so forth. And the credit lines, which again will be a mix of labor and environment. So I'll kind of put myself in these two buckets also because I have an experience of having about 4.5 years of experience of working in labor department and thereafter in the environment department. Currently, I've just 2 days back been transferred, so I'm right now looking after the training and HR needs of the state. Steel is one of the biggest polluters in the world. In terms of Paris Protocol Agreement 2015, which said that China, US, and India globally contribute to a huge a greenhouse gas emission. Primarily, the culprit is again to do with the CO2 emissions. Global warming has kind of increased due to that. I'll put that into perspective. Most of you, like I had come to this state in 2003, sorry. And from 2003 till date, I have seen a lot of changes in the environment, a lot of changes in the nighttime temperature. Daytime temperature, we are all aware, about 37, 38, 39, plus the humidity factor. Nighttime temperatures, and I'm quoting the WPCB report, says that it has gone up by 7%. 7%. A 1% increase, meaning you will feel a stress factor of almost about 10% in your body. It has to adapt. A 7%, that means you have to notch down your ACs by 2 degrees. That's the impact that has happened over a period of last 20 years. The nighttime temperatures have gone up because of a lot of factors. We'll come to that. Speaking about pollutants, yes, greenhouse gases, the CO2 has primarily to deal with it. 1 ton of steel would require about 1.85 tons of carbon dioxide emissions, mostly because we are using old technologies, not because of our own doing. Again, I'll come to that also as to why are we using old technologies, because we can't be completely R&D driven, we can't be completely imitation driven. It is a very cost prohibitive kind of an investment also that requires. At the same time, we are being told by the West, or we're being tutored by the West, which has actually gone ahead in about 200, 300 years, polluting this entire environment and thereafter lecturing us into saying that these are the techs that you should use. I have coined this word called, how many of you are aware of the word apartheid? Or let me say, how many of you are not aware of the word apartheid? Show of hands. That's only to make sure that you're not sleeping when I'm speaking. Okay. So I use that in tech's perspective, in steel's perspective. I use it as technological apartheid, which says that what should have been yours is not being given to you. Technology is not being shared with you. R&D is not being shared with you. And at the same time, you're being tutored that you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Hypocritical to the last core. We have been challenging that on each and every forum, saying that if you want us to improve, please share your tech. I come to the next big pollutant, which is air pollution, where the SO2 and the NOx are obnoxiously high. Added to that, you're also having certain very interesting factors. You have the rise of the SPM, which is broadly classified in technical terms as PM level 10 and PM level 2.5. Now we'll go only with PM level 10, which actually says, to be non-technical, dust. घर में धूल बहुत है, तो धूल को कैसे आप निकालेंगे? ना ये धूल जो है, इसको निकालने के तरीके बहुत सारे हैं. Net zero by 2047, 2045 for Tata. There has been a 4% average per annum drop in the air quality in all the steel plants cut across in this state. 4% drop. All right. Now these are PM level 10. So I issue this caveat. You must have gone and cleaned up your act in 2.5. But we are just measuring your PM level 10, which actually also shows the EU Steel Report 2022 that mentioned that 1.88 billion tons of production of steel led to a creation of 3.6 billion tons of carbon. Water pollutions are huge. Heavy metals, oil, suspended solids contaminate groundwater, surface water. Leaching, how do you get a taste of that? How does it come back to you? Do you know where vegetables come from in the state? Most of your vegetables in Kolkata? Any guesses? You will say it comes from Gram Bangla. Ekhan theke ashe, okhan theke ashe, kothay theke jay. Ekhane, you will say Hugli theke ashe, Bordhaman theke jay, ba Dokhin 24 Pargana theke jay. Adhikangsho 50%, 52.7% to be exact, comes from the East Kolkata wetlands. Which are the East Kolkata wetlands? ITC te jodi apnara jan samne je open Ramsar site jeta dekhen, that is the East Kolkata wetlands. That's about 13,000 hectares of land. About that grows your vegetables, that grows your fishes, small fishes also. They are contaminated to the level of 52.7%. How? Because 92% of your fecal sludge gets flushed into those areas. It's a bio digester. But then the fecal sludge is being fed, vegetables and fishes are growing, it's entering your food system. The food chain is complete. To be putting it in technical terms, we call this orofecal contamination. To be putting in very coarse terms, you are eating your own shit. Pardon my language. So it comes back to you. What you give to the environment comes back to you. Heavy metals, yes, they are contributing huge to this. Solid waste management is another thing. You're degrading the topsoil. Energy, you're using a lot of fossil fuel. There is no other alternative as of now, as was being also said. Heat recovery through solar is one such initiative that is being looked at very intently by ITC and definitely by Tatas. The as-is pattern is like wherever you have buildings and infrastructure, you will have steel. Wherever you have mechanical equipment and automotive manufacturing, you will have steel. So by and large, you are looking at steel production, but the steel itself comes as little as whatever I know about my engineering is iron plus carbon. So carbon cannot go out of steel. You can only reduce it or maybe mitigate it, or then cross-pollinate certain efforts to reduce your impact on it. Policy-driven initiatives have always dominated steel industry. The golden quadrilateral issue or the infrastructure boom in 1998 and thereafter brought in a 75% rise in production from 2001. What do we do? How do we do? Decarbonization, snazzy word, doesn't make any sense. Karna kya hai? Ki korte hobe saheb? Eto kichu apni bolchen. Khudr bhasha ekটু bolun. Decarbonization, karna kya hai? Karna yahi hai ki just reduce your own impact, your household impact, and your industry's impact, your office impact, to make it sustainable. Now, how do you do that? Well, I again come to a borrowed term which I have used very intently. I use these 3 I's everywhere that I go. I teach in 2 of the institutes out here. ISWBM is one and IIT Kharagpur is another. I do say that there is something called as innovation, invention, imitation. What's the difference between innovation and invention? Anybody? Innovation, you must innovate. You must have heard all your bosses saying, innovate করতে হবে, কিছু নতুন করতে হবে। তাহলে innovation and invention, what is the difference? बोलिए सर, इतना भी सुबह की चाय वाय सबकी हो गई है, wake up. Okay, in the interest of time, innovation is something that you do on a day-to-day basis. What have you done yesterday? What have you improved yourself upon? So you already have a base. Invention is something which is radically new, completely different, and you have introduced that. Imitation, नकल में अकल है, टाटा कर रहा है, we should also do the same. नकल में अकल लगाई है, প্রতিবেশী কি করছে আমি কিন্তু টুকে নিচ্ছি ওটা, নকল में अकल लगाई है. But for doing all of this, you also need to be incentivized. এটা করব কেন, এই ছোট্ট আকারে ইমপ্রুভমেন্টটা আনবো কেন, কারণ ইনসেন্টিভাইজ রয়েছে। সে incentivization কিভাবে করতে হবে, that will come to. I again accelerate my talk. I go to the global emission and everything is well known. I want to again talk about various kinds of incentivization that we do. One of the incentivization that you must be aware of are known as carbon trading, which is also carbon credits. How many of you are not aware of it? I presume by and large everybody knows. Somebody is polluting, he asks the person who is cleaning up his house, you clean up your house and I'll take your credits and I'll work in the markets. I'll continue to pollute the area, which is actually saying transfer of developmental rights. I come from a small city called Bombay, now Mumbai. So there we have something called as TDR. FSI आपके पास में FAR जो यहाँ पे बोलते हैं, you got an FAR of 2.5, but you want to go a little more high, so you take an FAR from transfer of development rights. That somebody has not built his entire FSI, you transfer the FSI and then you can build a higher storage structure. Basically the same thing. But this works only in the corporate field. What do we do in the government? We want to do it in the government field. We also want to do it on the individual field. Now, how do we do this? We go in for, let's talk about the industry level. We are now undertaking something called as grade assessment. All the industries are going to be graded based upon the risk profile as far as their carbon footprint goes. Based upon that, you will get your incentivization, that is, you will get easy access to credit. And number two, inspection and tax holidays. That will come. I mean, policy is being framed. We will see better days. Individually, that is being done by Tatas. What am I doing? That is being done by ITC. What am I doing? If I, at my home, know how to switch off my lights when I'm not, looking, I'm not, in that room, or I look at using less of running water when I'm shaving or brushing my teeth, there is a certain green impact that I'm creating. So how am I being incentivized? I had spoken about this in my previous seminar about 1.5 months back. We again want to introduce the same thing. We are working very intently on green carbon credit card for individuals. That means each of you, if has done something positive for the environment, you get credited for it. How? You will get certain green points. You can go to maybe a Zudio, you can go to a big basket, you can go to any other place, swipe it and get it. Easiest work for us is go to the institutes and to the colleges and the schools and get this done. We are embarking and we are trying to scale it up thereafter. What is the spin-off? Individually, let's say this is the cohort, and all of you are, let's say, students from St. Xavier's. Being a Xaverian, I can take that liberty. So let's say we all are from St. Xavier's, and I say, all right, about 40% of you have, a positive green credit score individually. So collectively, the school's score also goes to 40%. Compared to, let's say, a St. Thomas, which has got an 80% score. So your green credit score of the individuals will also populate into making a collective score. That's how you're going to mark or grade the institutes and industries also. So industries own doing, individual doing, both clubbed will tell us your green score. We are looking at various, ways and means of going ahead with this. Anyways, we have been, talking about most of this stuff, but sustainability is again a very cliched term. Simple terms. Has anything been sustainable since eons. Apart from nature, I don't think anything has been sustainable. We as humans also will die. So your sustainability itself is a very finite term. It's either during your lifetime or your next generation's lifetime or the next generation's lifetime. But nobody can say ki aajeevan eta cholbe. So incentivization, mitigation and sustainability needs to be looked at with that prism. I want to end by saying that the 3 C's are required for the future if you're looking at sustainability. One is to create. Either you do it yourself, now cliche term with the new generation, do it yourself or you collaborate. You find somebody who's done it and you join hands and you said, I will also do the same. Or third, what the Tatas have done in UK, take over, you co-opt. আমরা করতে পারছি না তোমরা করছো আমরা তোমাদেরকে গ্রহণ করে নেব JLR ले लो अपने आप में आप उसको बिल्ड करोगे so the 3 C's create collaborate and co-optate do these 3 small little things and you will see a better environment in the future. Of course sustainability is a key word. Steel industry we're very hopeful will reduce its carbon footprint. My sincere appeal to all of you is try and do a little bit of things every now and then. Because as I say, to be borrowing a cliched term, there's a little bit of steel in everybody's life. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chandra, for this words of wisdom, starting from meditation to 3 I's to 3 C's, and also to technical apartheid. Thank you very much for the insight. That's the reason we always say, yes, when Abhinav comes and speaks, we learn something new. So also now it's a pleasure to invite Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya. He is a PhD, FR Engineering. That if you read this biodata, it may take almost this entire session. So I'll be very brief. Dr. Bhattacharya is an accomplished professional with a strong track record in leading and directing research, technology development, innovation, and monetizing intellectual property. His contribution over 3 decades spans across iron and steel and advanced materials business with global work experience leading over 100 professionals. He has led the development of pioneering technology for carbon capture and utilization, introduced hydrogen in the blast furnace operation, successfully valorized waste material into the valuable products, and also built new business through partnership and joint ventures. He is passionate about fostering industry-academia collaboration and mentoring future leaders in technology and research. Currently, he is contributing to the national innovation ecosystem by providing mentorship and venture fund to startup in sustainable and advanced material technologies. I can go on. After superintendent from BP R&D Tata Steel, he has now started a new venture that is like, partner with the Lionside venture NLP. He is the founder of that. With this brief, we are happy that he is also the chief advisor, technology and sustainability of Steel Tech. With a small brief, may I request a big round of applause from Dr. Bhattacharya.
So we share the same initials, DV. Mr. D.V. Sundaramam, Mr. Abhinav Chandra, Mr. P.K. Sen, he has vanished over there, and Mr. B.P. Sarkar, my dear colleague who I am meeting after about 2 years, Mr. Sudhanshu Pathak, eminent people in the audience, many of whom I've met before, we have worked together, and many I haven't. So ladies and gentlemen, a very good still morning, right? It's still morning. A very good morning to all of you. A lot has been said, and I'm sure a lot more will be said on sustainability. And if you look at all the conferences that happen around the world of sustainability, all the travel that happens to these conferences, all the papers that get published on the word of sustainability, all the words that get spoken and the breath that comes out with CO2. And if you calculate all those CO2, that itself will be a threat to the world. And all these discussions that happen on sustainability notwithstanding, CO2 goes up. I think I was at this stage 2 years back, and the world's man-made CO2 at that time was about 50 gigatons per annum. Today, as we stand here, it's about 54 gigatons per annum. So in spite of all the pledges, all the actions, all the electric vehicles, all the green hydrogens that we produce and we very earnestly use, the total amount of man-made CO2 is increasing at the rate of 1 gigaton per annum, roughly, maybe 1.5 gigatons per annum, which means, in terms of how much carbon dioxide there is in the atmosphere, it's about 450 parts per million. Parts per million isn't much, but compared to what it was, say, 150 years ago, or maybe 200 years ago, it was only 100 parts per million. So it has gone up about 3.5 to 4 times in the last 150 years. And the effects are visible, and you've heard Mr. Chandra say that the night temperatures are up by 7%. And you can see many other effects which I don't need to enumerate. The temperatures are going up. But then temperatures were higher on Earth. And if you go back about a million years or more, or maybe even tens of million years or more, the Earth was much more, had higher temperatures. There was no ice in Greenland. Great time for Trump to be around. He could just walk in, right? There were alligators sunbathing in Greenland. So biodiversity wasn't a problem. There were enough animals, enough flora and fauna in an Earth that was significantly more hotter than it is today. Only that there were no human beings, because that was not an environment that would be conducive to human beings. Now, at 450 parts per million of CO2, that is 54 or 55 gigatons of CO2 that we emit today, there is no way we are going to limit ourselves to the 1.5 degrees centigrade increase in temperature limit by the end of the century, which we know is the limit that is a red line mark which we should not cross to make this planet habitable for us, human beings. So the Earth will remain. Some animals will die, some animals will remain. There will be biodiversity conducive to that environment. If we continue to produce CO2 at the rate at which produced today, we and our children and our grandchildren will not remain. That will not be an Earth that will be conducive to human beings. So the impetus is, we often say that we save the world by reducing CO2. Who are we to say that Earth saves itself? It just adapts. It's a different environment. Earth remains. Different flora and fauna will remain. We will not remain. So, ladies and gentlemen, the sustainability issue is about us. It's not about the Earth. It's for the human civilization to remain on Earth, that we have to take steps to make it sustainable for human beings. So we have to reduce many things. One of the critical elements of that is CO2, or CO2 equivalent, could be methane also. And of course, as Mr. Avinav Chandra said, and also Mr. Sundaram said, the basic metals industry is a large contributor to the man-made CO2. Steel industry, being the largest producer of man-made material, is therefore also the largest contributor to man-made CO2, other than cement, right? So we have to do something about it. The steel industry produces about 8-9% of man-made CO2. And it's a challenge. You know, just before this conference, there was a reporter here who was asking me, why is it a challenge? The challenge is because the solutions are not off the shelf. You heard briefly the mention of electric arc furnace. You heard briefly the mention of direct reduced iron and other technologies. You heard also biomass and biochar. All these are snippets of solutions. Had there been a solution available, it would have been implemented for sure. So there is no solution available. Everybody is in search of a solution. So take the example of steel. The major problem is that God hasn't given us pure iron. God has given us pure gold. God has given us pure platinum. God hasn't given us pure iron. God has given us iron oxide. So we have to take the oxygen out from iron oxide. Now, therefore, we need a reductant. And the most prevalent, cost-effective reductant is carbon. So for centuries, humanity has been using carbon as a reductant for iron ore. And the result is carbon dioxide. To the extent that the steel industry produces twice as much of CO2 than it produces steel. So 2 tons of CO2 per ton of steel. It's almost a CO2 producing industry. Steel is a byproduct. Almost, right? So that has to reverse. And there are only 2 ways of reversing it. Find a way to stop using coal. And if you can't find a way to stop using coal, deal with the CO2 that's coming out. So capture that CO2, utilize it, capture that CO2 or sequester it. There is no other way. Now, if you look at the first way, how do we make sure that we reduce the use of carbon, right, or coal? Let's take DRI, as the DRI was mentioned, which is direct reduced iron. You can reduce iron ore using hydrogen or using natural gas, which is significant amount of hydrogen compared to carbon. And you'll get a reduced form of iron oxide. You can then melt it in an electric arc furnace. Assuming that electric arc furnace is run on green electricity, then you have then the product that you get has near net zero CO2 footprint, right? So what are the assumptions here? Your assumption is that you are reducing the iron oxide using green hydrogen. The DRI uses green hydrogen, which needs electricity today, green electricity, and you're running electric arc furnaces with green electricity. So the amount of green electricity needed would be huge. You would also need scrap. Now, scrap availability is an issue, right? Steel scrap has a cycle of about 20-25 years, which means steel that is produced today will come back as scrap 20-25 years from now. India is a young steel country. When today it produces about 150 million tons, it was producing much less even a decade ago or 2 decades ago. So it doesn't have enough scrap, and it will always be scrap deficient going forward. So India really cannot fully depend on scrap. China is a slightly more mature steel country. It will have 250 million tons of scrap available next year. India doesn't even produce 250 million tons of steel. China will have 250 million tons of scrap available in-house. So China will probably be going down or going up the green path faster than the rest of the world in steel production. But let's focus on India. We don't have enough scrap. We clearly do not have enough green electricity to make green hydrogen and therefore have green DRI. The DRI has another issue, which is if you take the DRI and put it in electric arc furnace, the gangue material will produce slag, and electric arc furnaces are not the best process equipments to handle slag. So you need another equipment to handle slag, so cost goes up, right? Or you take very pure iron oxide, iron ore, which has limited availability. So there are all these constraints in the DRI-EF area. It will grow. Once some of these constraints get ticked off, we find solutions. But till then, India needs to grow in its steel production. And as Mr. Sundarama mentioned, 70% of steel is produced still through blast furnace route. It will continue till we find a solution for the other part, right? So, blast furnace, what do we do? Again, we come to the first part, which is reduce carbon. So, I see Shamik Nag sitting here in the audience. He was the leader of the project in Tata Steel, the team which actually put hydrogen in a live blast furnace successfully. At that time, it was the world's biggest experiment with live hydrogen in a blast furnace. It works. But you need green hydrogen for this whole thing to be green. And the availability of green hydrogen is like this. To convert all possible carbon into hydrogen, replace carbon with hydrogen in just Tata Steel's blast furnaces, you'll need about 9 million tons of green hydrogen. 9 million tons. The world today produces about 9 million tons of green hydrogen. So all the worlds of green hydrogen has to come to Jamshedpur and Kalinganagar. So clearly not a feasibility, right? Also, carbon has a lot of important roles in a blast furnace, right? It not only reduces, it also gives the heat by burning. It also, the coke also provides the physical support. The hydrogen is a gas. It will never produce, it will never give physical support. Hydrogen oxidation in the blast furnace takes in energy. So you need to provide external heat. So, there are many technical problems to be sorted. So therefore, it's still a challenge. Given that, we are therefore left with only one recourse, or one of the many recourses, is to deal with the CO2 that is coming out on the top of the blast furnace. Capture it, and then do something with it. And I say do something with it is because the rest of the world also says do something with it without really having a full solution, integrated solution. So you capture it. Today, Tata Steel has a 5 tons per day carbon capture unit. One of the other steel plants in India is putting up planning a 300 tons per day carbon capture unit. NTPC is planning carbon capture unit with ethanol production, and so on and so forth. Capture is a known technology, excuse me. It can be scaled. But what do you do with the 300 million tons of CO2 that India produces today with the 150 million tons of steel? 300 million tons of CO2. Now, suppose you convert it to methanol. That methanol comes at a price which is higher than the market rates of methanol. It will flood the market with e-methanol, further affecting prices, and it will need green hydrogen again. So over and above the 9 million tons of green hydrogen, you'll need further green hydrogen, you'll need space, you'll need electricity. It works out that if you convert CO2 to methanol, the cost of steel will go up by about $200 per ton. You and I have to pay that to build our houses, to buy the saria to build our houses. So all this is expensive, and this will not be possible without policy intervention. And we've heard about policy intervention from Mr. Avinav Chandra, either through carbon tax, through carbon credit, or whatever else. Without policy intervention, greenification of steel or any other metal is going to be extremely difficult. Or you and I just pay the higher price, which we will not be very pleased to do. But there are other solutions as well, and because people and civilization doesn't stop there, right? So hydrogen perhaps is not the only solution. So people start looking at other possibilities. So there is a possibility of using agriculture waste in place of carbon, in place of coal. It provides carbon, but that carbon does not leave a lasting CO2 footprint. Agriculture waste comes from harvest, right? It goes to replace coal. Carbon dioxide does come out, but the next harvest plants capture that carbon dioxide, so it's a very short cycle. So effectively, if you use agriculture waste, agriculture residue, you have in effect solved the CO2 footprint issue. For every ton of carbon that is replaced by agriculture residue, you have made that carbon dioxide footprint zero. So today the government has a regulation which it hopes to implement because of availability. This is a problem. The regulation is, or the guideline is that all thermal power plants will replace coal with 5% of coal with agriculture residue pellets. And that is a direct replacement, direct reduction of CO2. So going forward, this is one of the bullets that you can use to reduce CO2. And there's huge amount of agriculture waste. The problem is not in using it, the problem is in the supply chain. How do you collect the agriculture waste? How do you incentivize the farmers to make that a robust supply chain for millions of tons to be available at the thermal power plants and the steel plants? Today, one of the issues with hydrogen is its cost. Hydrogen is green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is produced using green electricity and electrolysis. The most commonly used electrolyzer is an alkali electrolyzer. And there are other electrolyzers coming up, PEMs and all that. Average efficiency of an electrolyzer is about 50%. You're destroying value by producing hydrogen. You might as well straight away use electricity. You're destroying 50% of the electric power, electric energy by making hydrogen. The hydrogen that comes out is at about $6 per kg. At $6 per kg, steel price goes up by $200 per ton. You have to make it $1 per kg or $1.5 per kg. For that to happen, electrolyzers have to innovate dramatically, right? Their efficiencies have to go up from 50% to 100%. Now that's possible today with nascent technologies. In Kolkata, there's an institute called Central Glass and Ceramic Research Institute in Jadavpur. They're just going to put up a 5 megawatt solid oxide electrolytic cell. A solid oxide, SOEC, solid oxide electrolytic cell, produces hydrogen with an efficiency of close to 85%. It needs heat. Now, steel industry has a lot of heat. So if you can use steam to provide that heat, that is free, efficiency of an SOEC goes up to 100%. So there is a technology that's coming up next door and is at a scale of 5 megawatts, which can be scaled up. And one of the South Indian materials companies is actually taking the technology and scaling it up. You'll have a solution to reduce the cost of hydrogen. You need to work on catalysts, which form a critical part of these electrolyzers. And again, there's a lot of work that's happening in India on this catalyst, on the catalysts that will improve the efficiency of existing mature technologies of electrolyzers. Let me shift a bit. And I promised Mr. Sen that I will cover this today. He always gives me a challenge. He says, you have to speak something new. So here's my something new, right? Every time we talk about decarbonization, we talk about green hydrogen, we talk about electricity, we talk about the cost of green hydrogen, and we talk about electrolyzers. What if green hydrogen is available like natural gas? Today, we talk about energy without thinking that energy is just dug out of earth. Coal is dug out of earth. Oil is dug out of earth, in a way, pumped out of earth. Gas is pumped out of earth. What if hydrogen, which is also energy, is pumped out of earth? For that, you need to have, like oil fields, like gas fields, you need to have hydrogen fields under the earth. So ladies and gentlemen, there are hydrogen fields under the earth. It's just that we didn't look for them, and we didn't look for hydrogen coming out naturally from earth. It was first noticed in Mali, in Africa, that there was a patch of land and there was fire burning, and they thought it was methane, but there was no methane around. And then they realized it's hydrogen naturally coming from earth. That was about 20 years ago. The world has moved on, and it has been found that many places on earth, there's hydrogen available naturally in the earth, and it's associated with olivine, which is also not uncommon. Water reaction with olivine produces hydrogen. Today, France is commercially exploiting hydrogen, naturally occurring hydrogen from earth by putting up a pipeline and pumping it out. In most areas, India misses the bus. We missed the bus on solar cells. We've missed the bus on many technologies, including electronics. We are late. In this, we are not too late. So actually, we should jump in and move fast. And the good news is that many agencies in India are actually actively looking for naturally occurring hydrogen, which is green. Right? So the Geological Society of India, Department of Science and Technology, ONGC, Indian Oil, because this is energy. Oil is energy, hydrogen is energy. They're all looking for sources of green hydrogen, and one of the largest deposits has been found in Andaman. Now, of course, it's a different challenge as how to bring it from Andaman, but the good news is that once you start looking, you find. And I'm sure as we go on, we will find sources of naturally occurring hydrogen on mainland India as well. It's a matter of exploring and looking for it. We talked about solar energy, we talk about electric vehicles. And I leave you with this thought, or this point, and it's associated with ferroalloy industry as well. Critical minerals is really critical. You cannot run your battery for the electric vehicle, or you cannot run the battery that stores the electricity that's coming out of solar cells unless you have a very efficient battery. That battery has materials, and these materials are like lithium, nickel, cobalt, extremely pure electrolytic grade manganese, and so on and so forth. Even very pure iron in FEP batteries. Ladies and gentlemen, India produces none of these. None. The electric vehicles need a lot of motors to run with. The motors have magnets. Magnets have materials such as neodymium, boron, and very high purity iron. And ladies and gentlemen, the refrain is, India does not produce an ounce of this. So all greenification, if I can use the word greenification, sustainable technologies need materials, and all these materials are imported into India. It is a geopolitical and strategic bombshell, I would say, time bomb. For any country who wants to squeeze India, they just have to turn the tap off. They just have to put a tariff barrier. And then we are in trouble in the entire sustainability technology. So we have to indigenize. It is absolutely imperative from a national strategic point of view that we indigenize technologies that give us access to materials related to green technologies and the technology development thereof. So give you an example, Sukinda mines and that region produces a lot of ferrochrome. The overburden has nickel and cobalt. Yes, it's in 0.1%, 8%, but that is available for India. It's available for India to develop a suitable technology for that low-grade ore, develop it into, extract that nickel and cobalt and make it available to the rest of the country. So good news again is that a lot of effort has been put in by the CSIR labs and also by Tata Steel in extracting the nickel and cobalt. But then we need to provide national and industrial focus in enriching the low-grade ores that are available in India to get access to our much needed critical minerals. This will need development of indigenous technology to use indigenous ore. We cannot use the technology that China is using in Indonesia to get nickel. It will need a modification or development of a completely new one. But we have to do it. And that is the challenge that we have in the overall mining and metallurgy domain for India. We have manganese ore. We have a lot of rejects from the manganese ore. The same manganese ore can be enriched to produce high quality MnO2 or even electrolytic grade manganese for battery applications. All steel plants that have cold rolling mills need the hot band, the hot rolled steel to be pickled. The pickle residue is very fine iron oxide. It's almost pure iron oxide. That iron oxide can be reduced by ammonia or hydrogen, and you get pure iron at size of 50 microns mean. That can go straight into batteries. That can go straight into magnets. So ladies and gentlemen, we are actually sitting on mines of new critical minerals. We need to have the gumption, the resources, and the willingness to work together to make our country sustainable, not only in environment, but also in terms of materials. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I hope we have a fantastic conference going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Debashish. It is good that I always give you a challenge and we also come to know new things. Thank you for that, sustainable of human being and, CO2 industry byproduct is steel and also the natural hydrogen we wish that we get something more other than you're saying. And before I call upon Mr. BP Sarkar to propose a vote of thanks, may I also request people, panelists to get ready so that we can start soon after this, and also to the presenters who will be presenting to put their presentation into the console if they are not done. So with this, may I request Mr. BP Sarkar to also propose a vote of thanks. Thank you.
Good morning to all present here, both in the dais and off the dais. It gives me great satisfaction to give vote of thanks, but I may slightly go beyond that. First thing is that it is a fifth Ferroalloy conference and has been getting popular every year, and especially today when I see the great experts on steel industry and other areas, both here and amongst the audience, it shows that it is really matured and getting interest from everybody. So all credit goes to, I think, speakers and especially in getting all the experts here and all the audiences and speakers who will be there. I am thankful to all the sponsors. You can see a list here, without whose help this could not have been arranged. The presence of the all big names that are Debashish Bhattacharya, Sundaramam, Sayas, Avinav Chandra, has made us really proud that they have come here and shared their views on sustainability. I think they have covered from mining to critical metals, everything technical, whatever is possible. Maybe speakers later on will come and enlighten us more, but they have covered everything. And especially from Varinovic Chandra, you have heard something very different, very practical ways. When we talk about sustainability, without sustainability we cannot sustain, and especially if we want to run globally with the steel or ferroalloys, unless we are sustainable, we cannot sell our products outside India, whether it's steel, ferroalloys. So we'll have to tune to the technology that can make sustainable steel. One thing during when I was hearing, I was just wondering, maybe Mr. Debash Bhattacharya will be able to tell, we produce about 150 million ton of steel. China produces more than 1,000 million and maybe 2,500 million ton of CO2. And how they are surviving, I mean, there would have been so much of pollution, I don't know what they're doing. But one thing I believe that man's innovation power is tremendous. In our college time, we are told that we don't have any coking coal and we cannot produce unless we get coking coal from outside. Now, steel can be produced without coking coal, even without carbon also, as being mentioned. I believe in innovations. Men has got immediate, they've got innovations in production in all fields. They can innovate, and we have seen how the traditional energy is moving to renewable energy, and India is not lagging behind, whether it's solar, wind, nuclear. And fortunately, there's a lot of work has been done on fusion technology area also. So hopefully, the energy will not be a problem, energy will be cheaper, and hydrogen also, maybe from $3 to $1 in one day, it is possible. But what is not possible perhaps is somebody was telling about the mankind. We have seen the violence earlier in history books, but unfortunately, we are seeing that there is no change in humanity, and still the whole world globally is now under violent condition, which is really regrettable. I don't know how we can come out of it. So while it is important that we should be very innovative, come out with a lot of ideas, etc., we will pray that we get a very peaceful and with a human face in everybody. Lastly, I really thanks to all present here, and especially our Tata Steel, Shishandu, Mr. Sundaramam, and all these who are present here. They have helped us quite a lot in organizing this event, and I'm sure the speakers will come after this session. They'll enlighten us more. So thank you again to all of you.
For
May I also call our Decalogue partners to make the CA1 before you do the industry. We are anyway running late, so I want people who are presenters, please load your presentation in the console. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone, and a big appreciation for the people. Yeah, we'll stand together forever.